In this week's adventure, I'm in Moab, Utah, at the top of the World Trail. It's raining, it's pouring, the old man is snoring, but guess what? I'm out of bed, I didn't bump my head. So let's grind some gears, skid some tires, ride some sliders, and I'll see you at the top of the world. Let's go. Well guys, as you can see, it's raining. It's been raining for at least the last 2 hours, but right now it's looking like a 70% chance of rain throughout the entire day. And if possible, if the rain lets up for a few minutes, I'll put this camera out and do some tough obstacles or get the drone up. Anyway, let's get to the trail and see what we can find. This trail leads to arguably one of the most epic viewpoints Moab has to offer. Once we get off pavement, it's quite a jaunt to the actual trailhead. But once we're at the trailhead, I clocked about 9.6 miles round trip. The top of the world is an out and back style trail with a small loop at the very end. And that's where the difficulty really comes in, at that small loop at the end. But hang with me because we're going to ride through the trail to see what it's going to take for you to get to the top. So of course I'm trying to do only the main sections of the trail and not any bypasses. So right before this step up, there was a bypass to the left, and this didn't seem like much, so I figured we might as well just give it a shot. Comparatively to yesterday, going on Hell's Revenge, everything seems small. But I mean, that step up isn't tiny. I think a stock vehicle would have a tough time getting into it and then not scraping going up it. I didn't use lockers or anything yet. So I do apologize for not filming more of the trail, but there's not much to film. It's very gentle, probably would be the right word. Easy. So there hasn't really been much to film in the way of off-road adventure footage. To my surprise, most of the trail was incredibly moderate in difficulty. Nothing too extreme, but it really wasn't anything too basic either. You know, I've got to remember that my truck is extremely well built with gears, lockers, and 37-inch tires. So the comparison between my truck and my truck stock, it would probably be nearly impossible if I was to take the same lines in a stock truck. So I have markers on my map that I think represent the obstacles or something like that on this trail. It was the same for the Hell's Revenge, and I think this is supposed to be another one of those obstacles. Now this is probably going to look really easy, and it will be. I promise you guys, if there was a harder line I could take, I would take it for the sake of showing you how difficult and amazing this trail is. It's just not that difficult of a trail. You know, it's a really good idea to pre-cook these trails a little bit, get out here and experience them while I can without the camper on, because the next time we come here, we'll be there with the camper and the family, and I guarantee you, I'll be taking the camper up this trail. Basically, all I'm doing here is just left foot braking, kind of fluttering my left foot. Right, so as I'm coming up this obstacle, I have a little amount of pressure on the brake, like the slightest amount, just enough to give it a little drag. And then when I come in contact with the obstacle, I'll usually decrease, and then once it starts climbing, I'll increase the pressure I have on my foot, on the left foot. And then as I increase throttle pressure, I'll also increase slightly brake pressure. And when I feel like I'm braking over the top, I'll increase or decrease brake pressure and flutter back and forth depending on how the truck feels to make it not want to jump or bounce. Because for me, basically the point of using the left foot brake is to have more of a controlled maneuver than if I were to not left foot brake over the obstacle. It's one of those ways that you can really show mechanical sympathy for your vehicle and make it last longer and get the most use out of it. I mean, it definitely works better than not left foot braking. Now, I would recommend that a stock vehicle could probably do this trail with moderate difficulty, but with 33-inch tires and possibly a 3-inch lift, it should be no problem for you. And I would even say a beginner could take on this trail with the right spotter and a little bit of patience. The trail's made up of broken layered rock, shelves of varying sizes, slick rock, sand, bedrock, and a bit of hardpack. The last few miles of the trail are where it becomes more difficult, and it takes a more capable driver or spotter to help you navigate the obstacles. And the viewpoint at the top of the world on the Warring Mesa is unbelievably worth it. As slick as the trail was for me, there didn't seem to be any issues. I was aired down to about 18 psi in my 7,200 pound truck, which is probably more like 12 to 14 psi in a Tacoma or a Jeep. And if I needed to, I could have let more psi out if I had needed more traction. Looks like we may just have a little bit of fun before the very end of this trail. This must be the party section right here, and we're gonna go for it. But first, we need a camera. This section right here was actually pretty interesting. It was extremely off-cambered and slanted towards the embankment. So I wanted to make sure that I hugged far enough left that if I did start to slide, that my wheel would catch in the groove that you can see in front of my left driver tire. And I kind of ride that groove all the way up that little section to kind of ensure that my truck doesn't slip into the embankment. Because it's one of those spots that if I were to slip in the wet and the rain, it would have easily taken out a door. As you can see, having lockers on both axles really allows me to crawl through just about anything because my traction is nearly unlimited. My mistake on the first attempt was having the parking brake still set. Whoops. What do you think about that? Trade a little paint for a little crawl? It's okay in my book. I know I couldn't take it head on because my bumper would just be like, boop, right there, dive right into that thing. So it's probably more like a Jeep obstacle because they could technically get like one tire up and over, whereas I kind of have to attack it from the side. I thought that was pretty sweet. This is another one of the ledges where there's an extremely easy bypass just to the right of this. But where's the fun in that? God dang it, let's take the hard route. Well, thumbs up. Do I get a thumbs up for that? Or is that a subscribe? Let me know in the comments down below.
You want to hear the ramblings of an old man? Well, I can't understand why anybody would want one of those new cars with all that traction control blah 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 when they're out four-wheeling. Because for me, half of the fun is just getting to the spot that I want to see. And getting to the spot takes precise control of the pedal and the brake and the gears and the shifting and there's a lot to it, right? I mean, yes, I want more people to get to places like this. But I think part of the experience is the raw nature of being able to drive it successfully. And to do that, it feels good. Am I here? What is this? What the heck? I better stop. Come on. You're coming with me. Ah, this is the spot then. What? Every legit overlander has been here, and now I have. Does that make me a legit overlander now? Let me know in the comments below.
Due to the increasing elevation and exposure, the trail is subject to strong winds and rapid weather changes. So try and be prepared for whatever may happen in the season that you're in. Although cell phone service is surprisingly clear, especially with my WeBoost cell booster antenna. Well, that's it, guys. Thanks for being a part of this trip. I'll see you again from California.
Perfect.